During the bitter winters of the Second World War, frontline troops learned fast that standard gear wasn't enough. Wool blankets froze, outer coats crusted with frost, and temperatures in places like the Ardennes and the Eastern Front pushed soldiers to the brink. Yet, hidden in the supply lists and field modifications of the era was one piece of gear that kept men warmer than any blanket. A jacket insert that was light, compact, and shockingly effective. It became a quiet lifesaver in a war where cold often claimed more casualties than bullets. And the strangest part is that almost nobody today realizes just how advanced this simple piece of kit was, or that it can be recreated with basic materials for modern survival. The jacket insert outperformed wool because it trapped body heat instead of absorbing moisture. The main problem with wool, even though it insulates well, is that it absorbs moisture from sweat, breath, and melting snow. Once damp, wool becomes heavy and loses a significant amount of its insulating ability. The material used in the World War II jacket insert was different. Instead of acting like a sponge, it trapped warm air in layered pockets and shed moisture before it could soak through. The insert was originally designed for pilots who dealt with sub-zero cockpit temperatures, but it quickly spread through infantry units who discovered how dramatically it changed their endurance in the cold. Reenactors, bushcrafters and survivalists today recreate this same effect by using quilted liners or by stitching together layers of lightweight batting inside a cotton shell. The method works because trapped air is the real insulator, not the fabric itself. The more still air you create, the warmer the garment becomes. This is why, a thin liner could actually outperform a thick wool blanket in many conditions. The secret was layered construction that mimicked much older survival techniques. Long before World War II, indigenous cultures across Europe and North America used layered hides, grasses or loose fibres sewn into garments to retain warmth without adding bulk. Military engineers unknowingly returned to those ancient principles when developing the insert. By creating several thin layers of stitched insulation rather than one thick slab of wool, heat stayed inside the garment, and cold air had difficulty passing through. For anyone wanting to replicate the method, creating a liner with multiple stitch channels is key. Survivalists often sew vertical rows in a zigzag pattern to keep the insulating material from shifting. Even someone with average sewing ability can take an old jacket, open the inner lining, add layered batting, and sew it closed again. The difference in warmth is immediate and dramatic. Moisture resistance made this insert nearly impossible to freeze in the field. One of the deadliest winter hazards for soldiers was frozen clothing. When sweat soaked into wool garments and froze, the resulting stiffness restricted movement and caused heat loss. The World War II insert resisted freezing by allowing internal moisture to pass outward through the layers instead of getting trapped. Snow that melted on the outer garment rarely penetrated deeply enough to reach the insulation. A practical, modern application of this principle is choosing or creating gear that prioritizes breathability and wicking over sheer thickness. Many modern synthetic liners operate on this exact World War II logic. Keep the insulating material dry and functioning by moving moisture outward. Even in extreme cold, a properly layered liner won't turn to ice against the skin. The insert changed how soldiers slept, marched and survived in winter campaigns. Soldiers quickly discovered that the jacket insert was better than a blanket because it worked in every posture, standing guard, digging trenches, eating rations, or sleeping on frozen ground. It reduced heat loss by staying close to the body at all times. Blankets could slip, get wet, or fail to trap warmth unless wrapped tightly, while the insert worked non-stop. In survival conditions, this principle is crucial. Clothing that stays close to the core prevents the body from burning unnecessary calories trying to reheat lost warmth. Modern preppers, use this same logic by creating insulated vests or adding liners to coats instead of carrying bulky sleeping gear. A well-made liner can actually double the capability of a cheap jacket and honestly reduce the need for heavy winter bedding. The World War II jacket insert was designed, really, to withstand field abuse. Soldiers dragged them through mud, snow and rubble, stitched them up repeatedly, and still relied on them day after day. Unlike wool, which, wears thin and loses fibres over time, the layered liner kept its shape. This made it one of the most reliable cold-weather tools of the war, especially in long campaigns where replacements were, frankly, quite scarce. Today, durability remains just as important. A survivalist's gear should endure friction, sweat, moisture, and repeated stuffing into packs. Using tightly woven cotton shells or canvas covers around the insulation, that really does mimic the ruggedness of the original design. When properly made, such liners last for years and provide a level of warmth far beyond their weight. Modern survivalists can build their own version with simple materials. Even someone without military-grade equipment can recreate this legendary piece of gear using just a few steps. Start with a lightweight outer fabric, such as cotton, canvas or muslin. Insert several layers of batting, wool scraps, or even dry plant fibres if working in a primitive setting. Stitch the layers into channels so nothing shifts. Add simple ties or snaps so the liner can be worn under a jacket or wrapped around the torso in camp. This humble approach mirrors exactly what soldiers did when supplies ran low at remote outposts. The end result is a garment that traps heat, efficiently sheds moisture, holds up against daily wear, and offers far more warmth than most modern off-the-shelf clothing. For cold weather camping, off-grid living, or reenacting World War II field conditions, this method remains one of the smartest ways to stay warm without relying on bulky gear. If you value these forgotten survival techniques and want more historical methods that still outperform much of today's equipment, make sure to subscribe, share this with fellow history enthusiasts, and leave a comment so we can keep uncovering the skills that kept our ancestors alive.